and welcome to the Human Resource Daily. I'm your host, Eloisa.
And I'm your host, Ben.
Today we have the pleasure of having the industry design expert, Kelsey Streve and Sarah Vianney.
Hey, so welcome. How are you today?
We're very good. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Our topic today is job design and its emerging trends, and I'm really excited to dive into it.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Job design is a huge part of human resources, and job design is the first step of the job.
I completely agree with you, Sarah, that job design is one of the most important aspects of a human resource. So Kelsey, could you explain a little bit more how job designs are actually created?
Yes, I would love to. There are 6 major steps that are within job design. First, you need to review the relevant background information. You need to identify the formal relationships between each person in the organization. A good way to complete an organizational structure is to give strategic goals and identify each position in an organizational chart. You need to clarify your chain of commands, who supervises what job, and each person's authority within the power.
Yeah, and secondly, you need to select the job that you want to analyze. This is where you systematically break down each job into specific tasks. It's your job to identify specifically what tasks are to be put together to create one job and the importance of the task in the position. This is the beginning of how job design works.
Third, you need to collect your data. You need to break each part of the job down and getting each hard data to evaluate. This can be done through questionnaires, interviews, and employee logs. Each strategy has its benefits and challenges, so you really need to assess what job you're analyzing and what works best for you.
Fourth is when you take the crude data that is collected and verify that it's accurate, valid, and reliable. This can be done with a meeting with your supervisor or by trusted people who work in that specific job.
And once your data is collected, job specifications and descriptions can then be written. Through analyzing specific and defined tasks through the previous 4 steps, in reality this part should be quite easy. You need to identify the job, describe a basic summary of the job, the relationship of the job, as well as the role and responsibilities. Finally, you need to define the person of authority and the standards of performance that are required to complete this job. By outlining the physical standards and physical demands, you give a good identification and a really good overview of what employees should really expect.
Right, and for me this is the most important, which is communication and the preparedness to revise. As HR professionals, communication is the most important way to get job design implemented within the companies I work with. If I do not communicate properly with my team, or at all, it leaves room for misinterpretation. Also, you need to be prepared to revise your job design multiple times as your data may be skewed or job design trends do change.
Oh, thank you. That actually really breaks down the intensity of the job design. And as you said, that there's some changes that come with the trends. So what kind of trends that you noticed?
So trends that are constantly changing as trial and error proves or disproves job design elements in a variety of workplaces. Some of the trends that are emerging most recently include job sharing, telecommunications, which is the power of technology or social network, flexi hours, and working from home. Now, saying that size really doesn't fit all, and so you really need to assess how job design and constraints change with the work behaviors, as well as the generations that are working in your workplace. To deal with this, in order to design jobs accurately, employees really need to take initiative into their own job design, as well as their job descriptions and specifications. In 2018, major trends were as follows. From pleasing the boss to employee intimacy, renewed focus on productivity, power of the people, the end of fixed jobs, learning in real time, hospitality and service, shrinking HR teams, and letting go.
That's interesting, Kelsey, that the job designer changed from the pleasing the boss attitude to more independent employee-based flexible job. So Sarah, could you explain or could you touch on some more of major issues that are also emerging as these changes are being placed in the workplace?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most alarming problems is that we're currently dealing with is that the employees are not motivated in their current job design. The recent trends from working at home is also an issue because employees are distracted by their, comfy home environment, and their productivity actually decreases. However, sharing job between employees is becoming more popular. This means two people sharing a full-time job, but can be half-day or months at a time. In both cases, the lack of mutual trust is then kind of created between the employer and the employee, which makes it very difficult for the employer to conduct and implement productivity plans thoroughly. As a result, the relationship between the employee and the employer becomes fairly tense.
So as I understand, so like the current trends are also causing the problems of productivity, right?
At this time, we are seeing these major issues, but the jury is still out of whether these trends can be disproved as positive implementations for the business. I believe once the novelty works,
Once it wears off.
it will, become easier for us to really analyze.
So that being said, what is the changing in the current human resource job design aspect?
So the evolution of job design began to achieve a maximum level of efficiency while creating repetitiveness and more specialized tasks for lower level employees. This was analyzed through seeking out methods of lower job satisfaction as well as a higher turnover rate. The attempt to move away from repetitive and straining tasks was made through job enlargement, job enrichment, and job rotation. This has helped reduce uniformity, increase motivation, and broaden the employee skills. Lastly, changes are constantly being made to the ergonomics factor of the workplace due to health and safety regulations, as well as accommodating employees with disabilities. Thus, job design is constantly changing within organizations in order to fit employee needs, workplace standards, and the overall success of the company. With all of this being in place at the end of the day, not all workplaces are changing at the same pace as ours. So some of the job design evolution standards are moving a lot slower than in our world. So we need to take some accommodation and be cautious as we move forward in job design, as some industries already have job designs that are working. So industries are being a little bit less quick to move forward within their job design elements.
That's interesting. Thank you for touching on this, Kelsey and Sarah. So if Canada is having trouble with change, how Canadian companies are taking action to stay on top of the changes that are driving the business world forward?
Yeah, currently organizations in Canada have hired more freelancers due to the desire of employees to be able to control their own schedules, the need for more flexibility, and their wants to be their own bosses. As technologies develop rapidly, Canadian organizations have provided managers and employees with the ability to perform employment-related tasks on their own mobile devices. Those tasks include requesting and approving time off, logging their hours for time and attendance, and completing performance appraisals, assessing and changing their personal information, and making compensation decisions. Thus, employees have more chances to work remotely.
So thank you for the insight. And taking a step back to the evolution of job design and how some companies are reluctant to it. So what are the controversies that may arise from the change?
So due to a more complex job design system, the arguments about pros and cons really hit three main administrative aspects of job design. The first one is job enlargement. It cannot be denied that in most current jobs, they require a specialized set of skills over time. Even though there is increased employee capacity, efficiency, there's a huge amount of workload and really stressful for your employees. This can cause major issues within your organization. The second is job rotation. In order to avoid boredom caused by specialization, job rotation is easily one of the best solutions. However, it is extremely time-consuming and quite costly, and this can be especially tense as specialized skill sets start to move in. The last one is job enrichment. This is a technique that helps to eliminate the level of absenteeism and increase the chances of recognition and reward. However, if enrichment is done improperly, it can lead to miscommunication and an extreme lack of performance.
interesting, Kels. And Sarah, getting to the legal side of things, has there been any major legislative change that have been enforced and also that business need to be aware of?
Yeah, there's something called the National Occupation Classification, also known as NOC, plays an essential part actually. The NOC code represents Canadian national system of describing and clarifying job description, requirements of education and skill set for a wide range of different occupations in Canada. NOC was last updated in 2011, however, it can be seen as either an example or standard of job design for every single job in Canada. Therefore, besides wages and benefit requirements, employees should also take NOC code of a specific job or occupation into account to ensure that the design jobs for their vacancies are met by the minimum standard.
And thank you for your resource. And you can also find the NOC website on our website, www.humanresourcedaily.com. And Kelsey, like for the best practice for companies, so like what should they striving for?
So best practices is one of the human resources areas that really doesn't change much. Throughout the years, we add more best practices to the list, but our major goals and objectives that we strive to achieve really does stay the same. However, based on the more current situation of job design related issues, there's a few actions that organizations should really start to apply. The first one is your work environment. Your work environment must be safe and healthy for all employees to work in. This includes minorities and people with disabilities. The second is job enrichment. You need to recognize your employees and support their decisions. The third is feedback. Without feedback, you don't have a real good chance of your employees' overall development to increase over time. And the last one is job rotation. Although this can spice things up, there are some risks and rewards that come along with it, but in all reality, as job specification really steps in, job rotation is a really good way to go.
Yeah, thank you for reminding us of the best practice of goals. And it's true that we need to be reminded of the goals we strive for and also the importance of best practice and goals, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so thank you for joining us today and sharing all the information. And if the audience have some questions about job design, so where can they find the resources and what can they do?
Yeah, they can go to www.protectthedesign.hr to find different resources and contact information to answer any of their questions.
Yeah, so we have support groups and you can also get help from an advisor on that website. So it's really open for all HR specialists to really dive into this topic a little deeper.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Okay, thank you. So this is the end of today's episode, and we will have some group of experts to come for the recruitment for next episode, and we hope that our videos are educational for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.